What is going on, guys? Hope you guys are doing well. We are back on the CTE today, and we are visiting some of the new maps that are be coming out in our Apocalypse DLC. So I am on Passchendaele today. It's actually my first game playing this map, and it's just like, wow, man, there's been a lot of CTE gameplay. A lot of, like, man, it's just, last week we were all grinding out some of the two new maps coming out for Turning Tides, and now, what do you know, now we're already out at playing Apocalypse. So this is, of course, still the white box version of it, so no textures. They're trying just to get the clear viewpoint of the gameplay and trying to, you know, catch any exploits that the map could possibly give. So so far, though, in my first game right here, off of this, basically the first raw impressions of it, actually, that's not, I don't really actually too mind this map. For the most part, I've been enjoying a lot lately with Battlefield, bringing out maps that are, you know, mainly 5 capture points, lean more onto infantry. I've leaned more and more to that as Battlefield 1 has progressed, and so far, for at least from what I've experienced so far with this map, it's not all too bad. Now, of course, that is just my first game, first impression of it, and I do pretty well on this game, so it might, you know, obviously change over a while here, but again, just want to give my first raw impressions of these new maps, just kind of get a good feel for them and what DICE want to be doing here. Now, the one thing I don't like about this map already is the limited amount of type of tanks you can have. I really don't like that approach. I wouldn't be surprised if there's probably a historical backing to this or something along that matter, but if that's the case, I would preferably would like to see more options with the tanks. This is back kind of on Volga River, where you only have people who can use land ships, and you know, I just feel that there should be a little bit more options than just one specific tank. So, I mean, I'm not sure if it's because of terrain, if it's because of history behind it, if it's, you know, whatever reasons that there are. I don't know. I just feel like I would like to see a little bit more options when it comes to this. But that's just my first kind of feeling on what they're doing in regards to tanks. The nice thing is, though, it's not as like heavy as the tank gameplay was on Volga River, where there were 3 tanks, so there's only 1 tank here. Initially, right when the game started, I was like, dang, I probably should have swapped my dynamite over to my mines, but after a while of just playing, and I'm gonna realize that I'm hardly even experiencing any of the land ship at all. So this really kind of goes back probably more to like a Zarishan, where that map only had 1 land ship on it, but this is probably even, you know, less than that, because Zarishan was so small that you could at times you could probably control a territory with that land ship if you were, you know, had it stacked with teammates and you guys were working together. But for this map, at least, I didn't even come across it at the very beginning of the game. I saw it coming up, so that's why I pushed over there, not to C. I wouldn't push to B because, you know, knowing me, when I start off any of my games, I usually like to go right to the middle of the battlefield. So in this case here, I heard it coming. I pushed over there to B and kind of wrapped myself all the way around. Was able to flank a bunch of guys over there, work all the way down towards E, and now back over here to C. So they kind of did take a little bit of a lead here at the very beginning of the game, and I was trying just to catch up to the whole Zerg and try to creep up behind them. As you can see, they're capping E, and the moment I know my teammates are going to cap C, I usually just get off the capture point and start pushing to the next zone, just to try to wrap around behind them, hopefully maybe flank a bunch of players out, kind of slow them down just a little bit, as difficult as that is. So there's going to be a bunch of them that are going to come out here right now. I'm going to take off this 1 player, but more of them are going to show up, and my health is kind of low. So teammates did a really good job, though, throwing a lot of flares. And speaking of flares, I'm pretty actually excited to try out that pigeon spotting thing that the scout class has. Even though I'm not much of a scout player, at times I'll maybe pick up the scout class, but nowhere close to, you know, what other people do with their playstyle with that class. But yeah, I don't know. I think it would actually be pretty cool. Hopefully, I would like to see it in the game. I don't know what the reasons might be. I mean, we'll figure that out as we keep playing the CT, if there's ways to exploit it, or, you know, if it just doesn't work or whatnot. But I like the concept of it. I think it's pretty cool. But yeah, for the most part, like I was saying, it still plays, from my first impression, mainly infantry. It seems mainly the focus on it. I didn't feel the need to, you know, have to swap out to go use my anti-tank mines, which is normally what I will do if I find a map that's more heavily geared towards tank gameplay. But when you're only doing with 1 tank, you can keep your dynamite and keep like an AT rockets, and you should be fine. So usually those are the two gadgets for the assault class I like using if I'm going to be dealing with more infantry gameplay. And if I have to only deal with one tank, I can do good enough damage to take that one tank out. It gets dicey when you got to take you know, your dynamite and your AT rocket, and you have to deal with more than one tank, because, you know, just one of those weapons alone isn't sufficient enough with taking out a full heavy tank. A dynamite can do some damage on it, but the AT rocket gun definitely won't. So it's definitely nice to see that there's just more of an infantry focus on this map, because I definitely enjoy carrying around dynamite more, as, you know, it's good that you have anti-tank mines will take out a tank, but they don't do much against infantry players, which no matter what map you're on is the majority of the players usually. So I'm going to push over down here to B, still keeping my streak going. Actually, I was kind of a little bit surprised. I was like, you know, what's going on here? But then, of course, it's a CTE, and sometimes the skill range is very wide when it's on the CT as well. So you get a lot of games where you either get punished or you punish the enemy team. So usually what ends up happening. But yeah, for the most part, keeping the streak alive right now. So kind of still wrapping around the whole entire map. Kind of actually don't really mind this kind of trench layout over here for the most part. You're going to see it kind of play out here a little bit more coming up here in a little bit. But yeah, there's some playing in these trench layouts isn't all too bad over here. I mean, I was wrapping around pretty hard the other side when I first wrapped around here, but then I kind of cut straight through. I was kind of wanting to watch out for any scout classes that were going to pick me off. I didn't want any of that to happen. But now someone is on the territory who's just getting off, so I'm figuring they're probably going to push over there to C, move around that area, and then there's more enemy players that come out. So I did have, there's a lot of flanking on this map already at the very first start of the game, just wrapping around the whole side, which kind of I think benefited me a little bit more than it probably will in the future as people begin to understand these maps and you know, don't quite go out right into the center of the playing field. So I guess that kind of works well when you first play a map out and you just kind of wrap around the outer edges of it, and you don't actually are exploring the inside of the inner workings of the map. So yeah, that Meg class comes in their charge. I didn't think he was going to make it over that little barrier there, but I think it's a little bit to deal with the white box effect of this map over here. So going to be a scout class right in front of me. Like I was saying, I want to watch out for them posting up and trying to pick me off. You saw it earlier in the game when I pushed over here to C. I had to deal with that scout class around that tree. Now, one thing I really do like about this map as well too, I like the trees, the gameplay with all the trees here. Gives me more of a feel, kind of how Verdun Heights was at the very beginning of the game, where if you're like on operations mode and you're pushing out, there's all the little forestry that's right there. I kind of like that, and I was hoping that maybe there'd be more of a gameplay coming out with more of just a lot of trees just everywhere. And this is definitely seems to be the case. I'm not sure off the top of my head if I can think if there's another map out there. Feel free to let me know down below if I'm just, you know, having a bit of a memory lapse here and I can't remember. There's another map out here that does more like heavy forestry gameplay. So I think this is actually going to look really cool when they get it all textured and everything like that. And I just think this the whole that fiery type of feeling that Verdun Heights I think was the closest one that comes off the top of my head that I can think of right now that gave me a little bit of that, you know, this burning forest type of feel. So again, we'll see how much more they do with that. I would like to see it actually kind of maybe a little bit actually more. There's some areas there that are less have that type of tree gameplay in there, but for the most part it's not all too bad as it is right now. So it seems like, yeah, you can see more on the left side. They got probably a little heavier side, and they probably open it up a little more, kind of give it a little bit of breathing room. But yeah, that's kind of the vibe that they're going here. And again, it'll be exciting to see what happens here later when they get more textures done. So now we kind of, I don't know what kind of happened here. Something kind of shifted the balance, and now we're taking control of the game pretty good here. And we're about to push them back over here. We can hold them down from B and hopefully make a push over there by A. I wanted to make sure it wasn't, I thought for a second there I might have gotten bayonet charged, but that not the case. And we got some enemy players over here. We're going to try to drop some dynamite, but don't have any of that, and try to pick them off maybe from the top there, but they're just a good enough range. So I'm going to come over here and try to power slide my way through and finish those guys off. So yeah, again, this is kind of where it shifts now, and you're going to see us basically control the game out from here on out. So that was kind of interesting because we got kind of a strange start. So yeah, like I said, when you're on the CTE, this kind of usually how that ends up happening. You either punish or get punished. So kind of hard sometimes to find those, you know, games that are more balanced out, but at least for the most part, the whole objective here, just kind of get a good feel for the map and see, you know, overall the, you know, capture points, the distances between those, and just the, you know, overall just details of the map in regards to its gameplay style, as we just basically only, again, have this white box side of it. So, you know, they just want us to stay focused on those things right there. So, as of right now, I mean, I'm not seeing anything pop out too crazy for me. I mean, I'm not quite sure why we're taking complete control here, as they were doing pretty well there at the very beginning. I finally get my first death right there, and now you're actually able to see that they added the specializations information on that enemy player. I'm pretty sure that wasn't there on the last CTE build we had last week, where we were playing Turning Tides maps. So makes sense that they would eventually implement that in, as we already get information about the class the enemy player was using and the gun as well. So no elite classes though on the map that I saw as of right now. However, they are going to get their behemoth in, and they're going to roll out with elite classes. Now, there's one big disappointment overall that I've seen in regards to the new Apocalypse DLC. It is the lack of an elite class, and especially a lack of a behemoth. I think if there's one thing they probably should have rolled out, it should have been a behemoth. Not quite sure if somehow they're going to do something about that later on. I mean, usually they would have advertised all this out already with their first kind of concept art and the first news on this, as they did just recently the other day in regards to Apocalypse. I mean, they've done that before with Turning Tides and other things. So I would probably doubt that they're going to bring it out, anything else new. So that is a bit of a disappointment that that's not the case, as, again, it's been a while since we've even seen a behemoth. So a bit unfortunate there. But like I was saying, they are going to get their elite classes, because I'm going to run into the MG0815 here in a little bit, but not quite sure if what other elite classes they're going to get in regards to their behemoths, because I wasn't there to actually see it. But I would like to see the I'd like to see the Trench Raider class back onto one of these maps. I think that would be pretty cool. I mean, you see some of the elite classes that have jumped back on other maps. I mean, we see, you know, the Villa Perosa came back, showed up on Zarishan just recently. We're seeing the Tank Hunter class back all over Turning Tides. You know, we've seen the MG08 pop up on other maps outside of vanilla maps like Fort de Vaux. You know, it would be nice to see now the actual, you know, Trench Raider class maybe make a return. At least one of the maps, I think, would be pretty cool. I know that's kind of, you know, it's me, of course, right? So I love that class. It's one of my favorite classes in the game. But just kind of by the reasoning of it, just how we've seen all the other elite classes come out, it would be nice to see it show back up again. It might not make it, as that specific elite class is definitely the most powerful one, and DICE has kind of put themselves in a kind of awkward situation with that class, because the moment what makes that class what it is because you can self-heal yourself. And so the moment they take away that health crate, it instantly goes down to the worst elite class in the game by far. So it would become completely useless. No one would really pick it up. You wouldn't be able to do anything with it. So having that health crate, though, pushes it all the way up to the best elite class by far, in my opinion. So that medic class right there, Spawn and his teammate, was able to finish me off. And I was going to try to see possibly if I could have my teammate res me, but that's why so many times I actually just kind of skip the reses, is because usually I'm in a bad spot and it ends up killing my teammate. So I gave him a chance. He ended up dying, and now I'm trying to spawn over here by B, trying to hold him off from pushing up any further. Yeah, again, now we basically have control of the map, and for the most part they couldn't really push out after that. So we'll see more as the testing goes on, if this is kind of a weird first game that I had where things all just went my way, or if there's actually something really broken with this map. But feel free to let me know down in the comments below what your feeling is about the first impressions of these maps in general, and what you think could possibly be improved, or something that you're actually looking forward to experiencing when it comes to these maps. So I'm still gonna try to push up over here. Again, I wanted to reposition myself and hopefully make it up a little bit further in those trenches and hold them off. I think you're gonna see coming up here in a second me run into the elite classes. So they finally actually would grab their elite classes eventually. I thought they'd grab it sooner than later, but I'll run into them here in a second as I throw that smoke down. That medic class is new for sure. Someone was down there, but I was waiting for him, as now I'm gonna come up here and try to keep flanking up here from the side, and again see what I can do if we can hold them off. Again, if there's an exploit on the map where you can just, you know, punish the enemy players and hold them down. I mean, it feels very Fort de Vaux-ish like, Verdun Heights like in that sense. But yeah, there's the This is the MG0815, and then there's more players that were behind me as well too. I thought I heard someone behind me, and that ended up being the case. So, but yeah, again, I mean, to this day, when you play Fort Devo, you get a lot of this. I think half the time I play Fort Devo now, anytime I get on that map, half the time we end up capping the enemy team completely, and we hold people back. It's not even like much of a battle anymore on Fort Devo. I mean, there are battles on it, but it's the one map of any map where you can still hold people all the way down and push them at the very end of the map. So that's just kind of interesting, and hopefully this doesn't turn into something like that. I know when you see these maps and you get a first impression of, you know, someone, a team that's completely controlling the map, that you can make you feel like, man, this map is, you've got problems with it already. But you know, we'll see what goes on here. I'm pretty sure it's just probably because the first game, you know, we're on our first couple days of playing these new maps, and people are just getting used to it. So Dice gets the telemetry between all these games, and they'll go see the scores and see what's actually going on here. If they see anything that pops up, I'm sure they'll deal with it the best they can. But that's basically it for you guys today, though, and I appreciate you guys being here. Again, feel free to let me know down below how you guys are feeling about the maps, what you'd like to see, and what you wouldn't like to see. But that's it for you guys today. I'm Living, and I'll catch you guys again later. Peace.